Learning the English language is actually a step-by-step process. Before you knew how to spell out the word dog, you were taught first about the different letters of the English alphabet. So, every time we combine letters, we form words. And every time we combine words, we just end up forming three of the most basic concepts in English language. Hello everyone, and in this video we are going to talk about phrase, clause, and sentence. I am your teacher Dom, and it's time to learn English the better way. As I was saying a while back, if you combine letters, you will form words. And if you combine words, you will end up forming a phrase, a clause, or a sentence. Now, the best question to ask here is, what makes them different from one another? Let me briefly answer that one, and just to give you an overview of our lesson for this video by using a picture of an umbrella. We all know an umbrella has three basic parts: the handle, the shaft, and the canopy. Now, let the handle represent the phrase, the shaft be the clause, and the canopy for sentence. Now, look at the structure of the umbrella. The canopy covers the shaft and the handle. Same thing in our lesson in this video. Within your sentence, you can find a clause and a phrase. Now, look at the shaft. Below it is actually the handle. Same thing. Within the clause, you can find a phrase. Now, for you to better understand what I'm saying, let's look at our sample sentence. While the government is trying its best to control the spread of the virus, many people are still insisting their desire to go out. Now, in this sentence alone, you can actually find one dependent clause and one independent clause. In our dependent clause, you can see there a verb phrase, is trying. While for our independent clause, we have many people, which is an example of a noun phrase. Okay, that is the concept of umbrella model. Within the sentence, you can find a clause, and within a clause, you can find a phrase. Now, let's discuss first phrase. When we say phrase, it is a group of words without a subject-verb component. Now, what is the meaning of that? It only means that you can never find a phrase with both subject and verb present in a group of words. So, your phrase may contain a subject but without a verb, or it may contain a verb but without a subject. Now, what is the major function of a phrase? It is used as a single part of speech. That is why we have the so-called noun phrase, verb phrase, prepositional phrase, adverb phrase, and of course, adjective phrase. Let's go first to our noun phrase. It consists of a noun and other related words, usually modifiers or describing words, and determiners, which modify the noun. It functions like a noun, of course, or direct object in a sentence. For example, he is wearing a nice red shirt. A nice red shirt is our noun phrase, and this one serves as direct object. Now, in our sentence, can you help me locate where is a noun phrase? If your answer is the girl with blue eyes, then you are correct. Why? Because it serves as a noun or subject in the sentence. Another correct answer is a beautiful chair, because it serves as direct object in our sentence. So here you see that in one sentence you can actually find one or more phrases, okay? Now let's go to our verb phrase. A verb phrase is a combination of main verb and its auxiliaries or helping verb in a sentence. Of course, it functions like a verb in the sentence. For example, he is eating an apple. Is eating is our verb phrase. The word eating is our main verb, and the word is of course our helping verb. Now, can you help me locate where is the verb phrase in our next sentence? sentence. She has been sleeping for 2 hours. If your answer is has been sleeping, then you are correct. Okay, so that is for verb phrase. Now let's proceed to prepositional phrase. Your prepositional phrase consists of a preposition, object of preposition just like your noun or pronoun, and may also consist of other modifiers. Basically, it functions like a preposition, just like a preposition of time or a preposition of place. For example, a boy on the roof is singing a song. If I'm going to ask you, where is the boy who is singing a song? He's on the roof. Therefore, our prepositional phrase here is on the roof. Next one. Can you help me locate where is the prepositional phrase here? Please be online at exactly 8 o'clock a.m. Very good. The correct answer is at exactly 8 o'clock a.m. Now, let's go to our adjective phrase. When we say adjective phrase, it consists of adjectives, modifier, and any word that modifies a noun or pronoun. It functions like an adjective in a sentence, of course. For example, the girl with brown hair is singing a song. With brown hair is our adjective phrase. Why? Because it modifies or it describes the girl who is singing a song. What about in this sentence? He gave me a glass full of water. Can you help me locate where is that group of words that modifies or describes the glass? Very good. Full of water. Okay? So that is for adjective phrase. Now let's go to the final type of our phrase, the adverb phrase. Your adverb phrase consists of adverbs or other words just like your preposition, your noun, your verb, or your modifiers that make a group of words working like an adverb in a sentence, okay? By the way, what do we mean when we say adverb? This is a word that describes your verb, your adjective, or your adverb, okay? For example, they were shouting in a loud voice. In a loud voice is our adverb phrase. Why? Because it describes the verb shouting, okay? For our next sentence, she always drives with care. Can you help me locate where is the adverb phrase? Very good, with care. This phrase describes the verb drives. So these are for our phrases. Now let's go to our clause. Unlike your phrase, your clause refers to a group of related words within a sentence, or it could be the sentence itself, which has both the subject and predicate. It only means that this is a group of words wherein you can now find both the subject and the verb present together, okay? Now, generally we have two types of clause, the subordinate clause or dependent clause and the main or independent clause. Now, let's talk about first subordinate clause. It is a type of clause which does not express complete thought and depends on the main or independent clause to become a sentence. That is why we call it dependent clause. It always needs your main or independent clause to become a sentence, okay? We also call it subordinate clause because these are a group of words which start with subordinating conjunctions, just like the word after, although, because, before, if, since, then, when, while, and so on and so forth. Now, let's take a look at our examples. She keeps on asking questions although nobody replies. Here in this sentence, we have the subordinating conjunction although. Therefore, although nobody replies is our subordinate clause, okay? What about in our next sentence? Because of his asthma, he has to avoid getting tired. Can you help me locate where is the subordinating conjunction? Very good, the word because. Therefore, because of his asthma is our subordinate clause, okay? Now, take a look at what will happen if we're going to take away the other parts of the sentence. although nobody replies, cannot actually stand as a sentence. Same thing here. Because of his asthma does not actually express a complete thought. That is why your dependent clause always needs your independent clause to express a complete thought, okay? Now let's go to our main or independent clause. It is a type of clause that expresses a complete thought and can stand as a sentence. So, even without your dependent clause, this one can express a complete thought, okay? Going back to our sample sentences a while back, she keeps on asking questions although nobody replies. Here, as discussed earlier, because of the subordinating conjunction although, this part of the sentence is our subordinate clause. Therefore, the remaining part of the sentence is our independent or main clause, okay? Next sentence, because of his asthma, our dependent clause a while back, he has to avoid getting tired. This one is our independent or main clause. Now, we are going to delete or omit our dependent clause in each sentence. She keeps on asking questions already expresses a complete thought. Same thing here. He has to avoid getting tired can already stand as a sentence itself. So that's the point. Even without the dependent clause, your independent clause can already serve or stand as a sentence. So, what is a sentence? It is a word or group of words with subject and predicate that expresses a complete thought. For example, one of the most abused sentences in the whole world, I love you. Another one, go. Sir, is this even a sentence? Yes, it is. It expresses a complete thought. But sir, where is the subject? The subject is actually you being asked to go, okay? Now, generally we have 4 types of sentences: the simple, the compound, the complex, and the compound complex. Let's go first with our simple sentence. Your simple sentence contains a subject and a verb. It may also have an object and modifiers. Remember, from the term itself, simple, therefore, it only contains one independent clause, okay? For example, she completed her literature review. President Duterte imposed a stricter community quarantine. Now, what if your sentence has one more independent clause? This time we call it compound sentence. It contains at least 2 independent clauses. These 2 independent clauses can be combined with a comma, a semicolon, or a coordinating conjunction. Do you still remember your coordinating conjunctions? Or shall I say, do you still remember your fanboys? Well, let's review them for a while. Fanboys, F for for, A for and, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, and S for so. Remember these fanboys, okay? So that you will never forget your coordinating conjunctions. Now let's go back for our sample sentences. I shaded green our coordinating conjunctions and blue for our independent clauses, so that you would better understand our examples. Okay, now let's take the first one. She completed her literature review and she created her reference list. In this case, we've got a total of 2 independent clauses combined by the coordinating conjunction and. This means that with just one sentence, we can actually extract 2 sentences if we are going to omit or delete the coordinating conjunction and. Okay, next sentence. President Duterte imposed a stricter community quarantine, but he promised to distribute relief goods so people will stay inside their houses. In this sentence, we've got a total of 3 independent clauses combined by the coordinating conjunctions but and so. Okay, so that is for compound sentences. Meanwhile, your complex sentence contains at least one independent clause and at least one dependent clause, okay? Again, for you to better understand our examples, I shaded yellow our dependent clauses. Let's take the first one. She completed her literature review while her mother cooked her breakfast. In this case, because we have a subordinating conjunction while, this means that this part of the sentence will be our dependent or subordinate clause, okay? So in this sentence, we've got one independent clause and one dependent clause. Next sentence. If the number of infected people increases, President Duterte will impose a stricter community quarantine. Look, we've got another subordinating conjunction, the word if. Therefore, if the number of infected people increases, will automatically be our subordinate or dependent clause, and President Duterte will impose a stricter community quarantine will be our independent clause, okay? Now, let's go to our final type of sentence, the compound complex. It is a type of sentence that contains at least two independent clauses. I repeat, two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause, okay? For example, while her mother cooked her breakfast, she completed her literature review and she created her reference list too. In this sentence alone, you can find one dependent clause shaded in yellow and two independent clauses which are in blue combined by coordinating conjunction and. Okay? Next sentence. If the number of infected people increases, President Duterte will impose a stricter community quarantine, but he promised to distribute relief goods so people will stay inside their houses. Now, in this sentence, we've got one dependent clause and three independent clauses combined by coordinating conjunctions but and so. Okay, so these are the four types of sentences. Now that you know the differences between phrase, clause, and sentence, I think you're now ready to create a sound paragraph. I hope to see you again next time in my next video, so why not click the subscribe button below. Once again, this is Teacher Dom, helping you to learn English the better way.